Dear beloved Muslims, assalamu alaikum.
We ask the believers, the brothers, to come up forward, make the road straight, and silence all your cell phones during the Salatul Jumah, and make room for all of those who will be coming later, inshallah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah. Nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. Man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlil fala hadiya lahu. Wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu wattaqullaha haqqa tuqatih ولا تموتون إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحم إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطيع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد Verily all praises is for Allah. We seek his help and ask his forgiveness. We seek refuge with Allah from the evil of our own souls and from the mischief of our deeds. Whomsoever Allah guides will never be misled, and whomsoever Allah leaves astray, no one can guide. I bear witness that there is no God except Allah, one and alone, having no partners. And I bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a slave servant and a messenger. O ye who believe, fear Allah as he should be feared, and die not except in a state of al-Islam. O mankind, reverence your guardian Lord, who created you from a single soul, created of like nature his mate, and from them twain scattered countless men and women. Fear Allah, through whom ye demand your mutual rights, and reverence the wombs that bore you. Surely Allah ever watches over you. O ye who believe, fear Allah, and always say a word directed to the right, that he may make your conduct whole and sound, and forgive you your sins. He that obeyeth Allah and his apostle has already attained the highest achievement. As for what follows, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. I'm going to start off by saying Ramadan Mubarak. I want to thank Imam Talib for blessing me with both the consideration and the opportunity to speak today. We go back a few years. We were both in the military together, both in the Air Force, same base, same mission, we worked out of the same building together. Our offices were maybe 10 seconds apart. His office happened to be a little bit smaller than mine. That's because only 3 or 4 was in his office. He had a more exclusive office than me. I worked in an office that had maybe 40 people in it. We belonged to the same small masjid in Augusta, Georgia. We taught from there. We went out soldiering in the community together. He is my sensei. He taught me Mizando, the way of balance. Alhamdulillah, time really truly flies. Time truly flies. It's maybe almost 20 years now. Hope everyone is having a beautiful Ramadan. The title of this khutbah is Ramadan, an Exceptional Condition. I chose the words very carefully. The words have double meanings. Exceptional. What does the word exceptional mean? Exceptional, meaning better than the norm. It's exceptional. And the other meaning not the norm. It's the exception, not the rule. And then the word condition is both a noun and a verb. You have a condition and you have to condition something. I also show the word condition to mean a word that will fall between a momentary situation and a lifetime or a perpetual situation, a world. Ramadan is a conditioning and a conditional period. There are conditions to perform the fast. What I mean to stress is that Ramadan is not a total world by itself that we permanently reside in. Allah clearly states, and you know it, he says fasting for a fixed number of days. Well, Ramadan is not a world in itself. The idea of it and the practices of it that we perform during Ramadan are to affect the world in which we live. That's the whole idea of Ramadan. We take from it, from the practices and the conditions that we go through to affect the world that we live. We know that Allah is the Lord of all the worlds, the Rabbil Alameen. We know that there are many worlds. We have the world of the faithful, to which we all belong. The world of the unfaithful. We have the world of the humans, the men and jinn. And the world of the jinn, men and jinn. There's also the world of the rich, the agniya. And then, unfortunately, there's the world of the poor, the fuqara. Well, some of the rich are charitable. Many, if not most of them, are great wasters. They have so much wealth, they don't know what to do with it. They waste, and sometimes they seem to delight in the waste that they do. Take food, for instance, which is a big topic for Ramadan. They might purposely display or demonstrate their extravagance by ordering expensive meals, take a few bites, and then toss their napkin into it. Come take it away. We know this, right? We know this. This is a big extreme from the poor, the ward of the poor, to where right now there are parents who are boiling water and putting salt in it to serve to their children, to keep them alive. And some of them don't even have salt. They boil rocks. We know this, to keep their children alive. These are truly different worlds. It has been estimated that every 5 seconds someone in the world dies of hunger. Every 5 seconds someone in the world dies from hunger. At the same time, it has been estimated, and I've seen a billboard to this effect, that we here in America waste 40% of our food. 40%. Ramadan is to inspire us to work and affect a change to the disparity of both these extreme worlds. First, with your own personal meal. Remember when we eat our foods. Yes, you might have worked all day, but still remember, there are those who have nothing. So don't pile on your food. Because if you pile on your food, basically all you're doing is eating later. Consider the poor. Minimize what you eat. Try to only get enough that will sustain you. Don't try to fill up. Don't try to be totally satisfied. Before telling us that he is the Rabbil Alameen, Allah first introduces himself to us as Ar-Rahman wa Ar-Rahim. Imam Muhammad has told us that Allah is the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. Before we used to say that, and some of us still say, the beneficent, the merciful, and also the most gracious, the most merciful. We should all think about this. And I've thought about Ar-Rahman wa Ar-Rahim. And I see it this way. Ar-Rahman, the most gracious. Allah gives us good to the extent we don't deserve it. That's what graciousness is. If you deserve it, it's not graciousness. But he gives us good to the extent we don't deserve. And Ar-Rahim, the most merciful, he forgives the bad to the extent that we do deserve. Again, Ar-Rahman, he gives us the good to the extent we don't deserve, and Ar-Rahim is he forgives the bad to the extent that we do deserve. It's pretty clever, but it works. And it means Allah's got us totally encompassed. Right? We do the right thing, Allah's got us covered all the way around. When we consider the entire Al-Fatiha, Allah's own words, Allah tells us how to address him. Again, Allah wrote the Quran, wrote the Al-Fatiha. These are his words. And when we do this, Allah tells us, when we read it, Allah is telling us how to address him. He says, and thus in effect tells us to say, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. He tells us how to praise him. He says to say, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. He tells us how to know his attributes and acknowledge his power and authority by saying, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin. And he tells us how and what to ask of him. Then from the Holy Hadith, number 8, this addresses the exact topic. This is on the authority of Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, from the Prophet, may the blessings and peace of Allah be upon him, who said, a prayer performed by someone who has not recited the essence of the Quran, speaking of the Al-Fatiha, doing it is deficient. And he repeated the words 3 times, incomplete. Someone said to Abu Hurairah, even though we are behind the Imam, he said, recite it to yourself. For I have heard the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam say, Allah, mighty and sublime be he, has said, I have divided prayer between my servant and myself into two halves, and my servant shall have what he has asked for. When the servant says, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Allah, mighty and sublime be he, says, my servant has praised me. And when he says, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Allah, mighty and sublime be he, says, my servant has extolled me. And when he says, Maliki Yawmiddin, Allah says, my servant has glorified me. And on one occasion, he said, my servant has submitted to my power. And when he says, Iyaka na'abudu wa iyaka nasta'in, he says, this is between me and my servant shall have what he has asked for. And when he says, Ihdina sirata mustaqim, sirata alladhina an'amta alayhim, ghayra al-maghdubi alayhim waladallin, he says, this is for my servant, and my servant shall have what he has asked for. So there we have it. Allah tells us what to say, and when we say it, we are blessed for saying it and given what we ask for. It's like having a boss. Your boss calls you to his office, and you come in, you don't know what he wants, and he says, say double my salary. He tells you, say double my salary. And you say, I don't understand. Say double my salary. And you say, double my salary? There you have it. Your salary is double. That's what this is saying. That's exactly what this is doing. Allah is indeed the most gracious of those who show mercy. Let's talk further about Ramadan itself. This exceptional condition. Allah says in the Quran, and we know the ayat, know it well. Allah says, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Innal ladhina amanu kutiba alaykumus siyam kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. O ye who believe, fasting is prescribed to you as it was prescribed to those before you, that ye may learn self-restraint. Now, Saum, fasting. We know fasting is one aspect of Ramadan. The food fast is one aspect of Ramadan. We know that we ought to also fast from all the distractions in the world. We know the food part is a major aspect because for the lack of food and drink and sleep, it's going to affect our abilities to do everything else, to pray, to work, to read, do our reading, to do the night standing prayers. The great football coach Vince Lombardi said, and he had it right, when he said, fatigue makes cowards of us all. Fatigue makes cowards of us all. Come on, let's go. I can't go. I can't do it. Yeah, you're tough. You're real tough. Miss a few meals and a few nights sleep. Allah shows us our human frailties and our dependence on him. He made the food. He made the night within which to rest. This is not to discourage us or to disparage us. When we recognize that we are dependent on Allah, he has our attention. Allah uses the fast as a door for which he wants us to come in so that we can socialize with us. He uses the fast, that we can come in and socialize with him. Again, it says that we may learn taqwa. All right. During this month, we are constantly remembering that Allah is our Rahman and Rahim. He only wants the best for us. He shows us our weaknesses in order that we might have the right regard for him, so we can acknowledge and give the credit to whom it's due. Now, regard, that's the basis of everything. How you regard something, that's the basis of everything. As the hadith says, actions are but by intentions. And every man shall have but that which he intended. Again, actions are but by intentions. And every person, every man, every human being will have but that which they intended. Now, but before intentions, we have regard. Before you have intentions to do something or have something, you have a regard for it. You have a regard for it. How do you feel about it? Your thoughts about it. How do you feel about it? We know the great poet Maya Angelou said, I might forget what you say to me, and I might forget what you do to me, but I'll never forget how you make me feel. So how you regard something is everything. The proper regard we have for Allah is what defines taqwa. The proper regard. Taqwa is God regardfulness. That's what taqwa is. God regardfulness. Imam Muhammad, may Allah be pleased with him and forgive him his sins, told us taqwa is God consciousness. I've heard it referred to as when you would approach walking through thorns. How you would approach walking through thorns. You would be very careful not to get your clothes snagged or to get your skin pricked. You're being very careful. That's what taqwa is. I personally like to say it's God anxiousness. You're anxious. You are anxious not to do the wrong thing with regard to your Lord. And yes, taqwa is basically to fear Allah. To fear Allah. Some of us need to straight up fear Allah. Time to come to prayer, make your prayer. Stop delaying it. Fear doing anything that could even remotely be considered to cause Allah to be displeased with you in any way. It also means to being in tune with Allah. To being in tune with Allah. Imam Talib reminds us that Allah is always communicating. He tells us he's always communicating with us. He wants to communicate with us. He wants to have this close relationship with us. He says, as you know, Allah, in part, not the whole ayat, he says, I listen to the prayer of every supplicant when he calleth on me. Let them also with a will listen to me, my call, and believe in me, that they may walk in the right way. Taqwa itself has its own aim. Taqwa itself has an aim. And that is khushu'. Some of you know what khushu' is, and some of you may not know. Khushu'. What is khushu'? We know the two ayats. It says, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ. Khushu' is being solemn, having solemnity. It is being pious, having piety. I remember some of my 5th grade girl students coming from immigrant parents, maybe 2nd generation or so, telling me that khushu' is like praying with a bird on your head. We get the understanding. Like praying with a bird on your head. You understand. Being very careful, very slow in our movement. SubhanAllah. Now I haven't heard this in a while, and I hope to never hear it again. And I hope, and I'm sure you've heard it, and I hope you don't share it or repeat it. You hear people say, I have to go bump my head. You heard that, right? I have to go bump my head. When I hear that, I think to myself, brother, you've already bumped your head. Something is wrong with that. A lot is wrong with that. Saying that and fitting that way prevents you and will keep you from growing and having taqwa, much less reaching a state of khushu'. The aim of this exceptional condition this month is for ourselves to be better in regards to our taqwa, to grow and be better in ourselves in our taqwa and khushu'. Pray for Allah's forgiveness. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the second part of the khutbah, driving over here, we see everybody, and you know everybody has their cell phones in their hands. Everybody has their cell phones in their hands. What does that do if you just constantly have your cell phone in your hand? It makes you selfish. It makes you antisocial, right? You're only just consumed by your own self. So we're going to talk about charity. We know during the month, this holy month, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewards charity even more abundantly. So we need to take full advantage of this bargain and give more in zakat and more in sadaqah and do more charitable deeds. Allah promises that He will never put us at a loss for what our efforts. You never lose a penny. To the contrary, we are promised a manifold increase. Sections 36 and 37 of Surah Baqarah deal with giving and charity. In the last ayah of section 36, Allah asks a rhetorical question. A rhetorical question. We know what that is, meaning that you're not really looking for an answer, because the answer is obvious. It's for rhetoric. Let's talk about it. It's for rhetoric, so let's talk about it. Allah says, does any of you wish that he should have a garden with date palms and vines and streams flowing underneath and all kinds of fruit, while he is stricken with old age and his children are not yet strong enough to look after themselves, that it should be caught in a whirlwind with fire therein and be burnt up? Thus doth Allah make clear to you his signs that you may consider. So what's this talking about? You have all this beautiful situation, and what? It's totally taken all away. Because fire and a tornado is a powerful furnace. You're too old, your children too young. It's a perfect storm. All at once is 100% taken from you. Everything is gone. Now, why am I saying this? Because here we are, and again, this is talking about these sections about charity. So the point is this: if you lose 100%, we watch television all the time. That's somebody else. They lost, their whole village is washed away. Everything is gone. Or a tornado takes away everything. Everything. The point is this: if you was to tally up your wealth, if your own personal wealth, how many hundreds of thousands of dollars might it be worth? I have a home. It's worth so much. If you was to tally up all your wealth, every penny that you have, it might be two, maybe, who knows, $1, $2, $3, $4, $500,000. I don't know. Maybe less, maybe even more. Now, we come in the door of the masjid and we give $2, $3, $4, $5. let's just say your property, just for ease of mathematics, your property is worth $500,000. All your earnings worth $500,000, and you put in $5. How much is that? What percentage of that? That's 1/100,000th of what you own. 100,000. If you have $500,000 and you put in $5, you put in 1/100,000th of what you own. Allah can take away 100% of what you earn. So just keep it very simple. We put in a minuscule amount. A minuscule amount. It can all be gone. Everything can be gone. So this month, especially this month, we should be putting in $300 or $400, $500 this month. All of us. We really should. And again, that's nothing. If you own hundreds of thousands of dollars and think that it can be gone, Allah says, does any of you wish that you would have this? Thus doth Allah make clear to you his signs that ye may consider. I put in $10. You feel good about it. I put in $20. You feel good about it. It's really nothing. Really is it? It's really nothing. This month, when you can get manifold increase so you don't lose. So we should really fill up the box today. Really, this whole month. Allah says, strive in a race for all that is good. Strive in a race for all that is good. This would be perfect time to do that. 29 or 30 days. It's not forever. If somebody said you're going to have to run 5 miles for the rest of your life, you would say that would be kind of depressing. But 29 or 30 days, go at it. Go at it full board. These 29 or 30 days to compete. It says to compete. Put forth an extra effort as in a race. Again, this exceptional condition will come and go before we know it. We should do as much as we can during this time. And when our jobs, school, housework, obligatory prayers, reading, and standing for the night prayers seem to be too much, we ask for Allah's help. As a teacher, I'm blessed for right now to be on summer break. But let me say this, that my morning commute during my school year is brutal. It's brutal. It's just a job getting to the job. So not too long ago, to spend my time, I took out this book on tape entitled The Cool Impossible. It's called The Cool Impossible. It's talking about where a coach of world-class athletes shares his experience, knowledge, and insight on how people of all conditions can accomplish their dreams. They're cool impossible. What would be a cool impossible for you? It might be to break a 10-minute mile. It might be to break a 5-minute mile. It might be to run a whole marathon. So since we are competing, striving as in a race, we may learn something by looking at a few of the ways that the race competitors use to help them overcome when they're coming through the time, when times get real tough when they're racing. He mentions 8 things. I'm only going to mention 3. The first one he mentions, and very powerful. All right, we're talking about, the first thing he says is to have a mantra. Have a mantra. What's a mantra? A mantra is a saying that you say when times get hard. You can say it at any time. You might say, I can do this. I can withstand. I've just recently learned of one of the toughest men on earth. This guy, he does the Iditarod dog sled race that goes across Alaska. Well, some people do it by foot. They do it by foot. They run the whole way, 1,000 miles, through sub-freezing temperatures, There's maybe a couple of cabins throughout the whole 1,000 miles, but they sleep in sleeping bags and they get their food shipped into them. This particular guy, he carries all his food, and he's won it 8 times, 8,000 miles. And his mantra is, I will not yield, I will not yield. And he did it in his 50s. He says he's perpetually tired, but he keeps on moving. Again, you can't stay too long or you'll die. You can't stay too long. You got to keep moving. 1,000 miles. Deep snow, over hills. That's pretty tough. Now, again, the coach says have a mantra. And I think about the mantra or the sayings of those Talut and his forces when they were going to come up against Jalut, the great giant. What did they say? I think many of us know this. He says, Rabbana Afrak Alena Sabran. Rabbana Afrak Alena Sabran. Pour down on us constancy. Wathabit Adamana. And plant our feet firm. Wansarna ala Komil Kafirin. And help us against the people who do not believe. That's powerful. That was a mantra. That was a mantra. It says when they set off to face him. That's what they were saying. Have a mantra. So during this time when things get tough, think about Allah. This is what we're doing this month. The second one, the man says, and when the going gets tough, reflect on a great experience that has happened in your life. He says, reflect on a great experience that has happened in your life. A wedding, a birth of a child, an event that occurred that's really cherished by you. All of us, I'm sure, our lives came to us and got us out of tough situations. All of us, I know that. I know that. Stuff well, you know was Allah. I remember a time I used to work for the railroad, and I was under a car changing brake shoes, and then a voice told me, "Get out from under here right now. Get out from under here right now." Now, normally they're supposed to They're supposed to flag out a track, meaning that no train's supposed to come in it. After I got out of there, it wasn't about 15 or 20 seconds later that train moved. I remember that. I can't forget that. Get out from under here right now. It wasn't my own voice, and it had to say it twice because I'm kind of skeptical. But even if it would have been so low, so high that I could have made it, I would have probably died from a heart attack. Again, basically, he's saying to take your mind to a different place when things get tough. This month, we should fill it with similar thoughts of how Allah has clearly helped us through tough times. Secondly, he says, the last one, he says, thirdly, he says to visualize the unfolding of the whole event. Visualize the whole race. Some of you know it, to visualize the whole race. Waking up that morning, feeling calm. They say Carl Lewis used to line up his things just so. Just so. Every step of the way. Visualize going through the whole race. Everything going as planned. Seeing yourself crossing the hill or turning the corner of the race. Likewise, this exceptional month, we should visualize how Allah is and has always been our Rabb, our nurturing sustainer, and brought us along the way all these years, again, through all the tough times, through thick and thin, to arrive here today. I saw a brother at the Nassim conference on the comedy night, and this brother, some would call him a no account. This was a brother, he had a running buddy. And his running buddy died. You go to the place, they had so many Muslim journals. I think at that time we might have been calling it Baladian News. It might have been Muhammad Speaks. I don't know. But they had so many papers that they used it as a pallet. So what is that? Each pack of papers, 100 papers. So that would be like 3 times 6 was 1,800 papers. He said he was selling 3,500 papers a week. Again, this is a person, you look at him and you would dismiss them. It's a no account. Here he is at the Nassim conference in the hotel, looking good. Allah provides. Allah provides. Allah provides. We should again, how Allah has helped us through thick and thin to arrive here today, and we should project our thinking on how we plan to continue to be successful to the end of our days. Now, let me end. Excuse me. So now to end, there's a poem, we all know it, called Amazing Grace. Amazing Grace by John Newton. This guy, they say we know what he says, he was a wretch. Right? He was a real wretch. Now, he says that saved a wretch like me. Now one of his stanzas of his poem is, he says, through many dangers, toils, and snares I have already come. Through grace has guided me thus far, and grace will lead me home. And that's how we should understand that during this month. Look throughout your whole life how Allah has done for you. So I want to finish up with a little quiz, a little reading of a little text. It's a little lesson for today. This was an account that President Jimmy Carter had with his supervisor. This man's name was an admiral. You know, Jimmy Carter is considered to be one of the smartest presidents. Now we look through that all shucks demeanor, but he said he was one scientifically very intelligent. Now we know most politicians are either political scientists or lawyers, but he was in the sciences. And he was in the Navy, and he was trying out for the nuclear submarine program. And his boss was Admiral Hyman Rickover. Hyman Rickover. Now this guy, he was kind of crazy. He was kind of crazy, to put it bluntly. He was a 4-star admiral of the United States Navy who directed the original development of naval nuclear propulsion and controlled its operations for 3 decades. As the director of naval reactors, in addition, he oversaw the development of the Shippingport Atomic Power Station, the world's first commercial pressurized water reactor used for generating electricity. Rickover is known as the father of the nuclear navy, which as of July 2007 had produced 200 nuclear-powered submarines and 23 nuclear-powered aircraft carriers and cruisers. Though many of these U.S. vessels are now decommissioned and others are under construction. Now, this is his personality. With his unique personality, political connections, responsibilities, it says that he was hyperactive, political, blunt, controversial, insulting, flamboyant, and unexcelled workaholic who was always demanding of others without regard for rank or position, as well as himself. He said Admiral Rickover was a thundering force of nature and lightning, a rod for controversy. Moreover, he had little tolerance for mediocrity, none for stupidity. Dumb. If a man is dumb, he said to a Chicago friend, Rickover thinks he ought to be dead. Even while a captain, Rickover did not conceal his opinions, and many of the officers he regarded as dumb eventually rose in rank to be admirals while assigned to the Pentagon. While he was assigned to the Pentagon, they didn't make him. They kept him back from being admiral. So listen, it says, for many years, every officer aboard a nuclear submarine was personally interviewed and appointed by Rickover. Those who went through those interviews usually came out shaking with fear, anger, or total intimidation. Among them was ex-President Jimmy Carter, who years ago applied for a service under Rickover. This is a personal account of President Jimmy Carter of the interview, how it went. He said, I had applied for the nuclear submarine program, and Admiral Rickover was interviewing me for the job. It was the first time I met Admiral Rickover, and we sat in a large room by ourselves for more than 2 hours. And he let me choose any subject I wished to discuss. Very carefully, I chose those about which I knew most at the time: current events, seamanship, music, literature, naval tactics, electronics, gunnery. And he began to ask me a series of questions of increasing difficulty. In each instance, he soon proved that I knew relatively little about the subject I had chosen. He always looked right into my eyes, and he never smiled. I was saturated with cold sweat. Finally, he asked a question, and I thought I could redeem myself. He said, how did you stand in your class at the Naval Academy? Since I had completed my sophomore year at Georgia Tech before entering Annapolis as a plebe, I had done very well, and I swelled my chest with pride and answered, Sir, I stood 59th in a class of 820. I sat back to wait for the congratulations, which never came. Instead, the question, did you do your best? I started to say, yes, sir, but I remembered who this was and recalled several of the many times at the academy when I could have learned more about our allies, our enemies, weapons, strategy, and so forth. I was just human. I finally gulped and said, no, sir, I didn't always do my best. He looked at me for a long time and then turned his chair around to end the interview. He asked one final question, which I have never been able to forget or to answer. He said, why not? I sat there for a while, shaken, and then slowly left the room. So here we are, Ramadan. 29 or 30 days. How you doing? Are you doing your very best? That's the question. You'd ask yourself at the end of Ramadan. If you do your best, if you have done your best, yes. If you haven't, why not? Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Bismillah. Allah says in Quran as we close, Lillahi ma fi samawati wa ma fil ard. Wa in tubdu ma fi anfusikum aw tukfuhu yuhasibkum bihi. Yaghfir lakum min yasha wa yu'adhibu min yasha. Wallahu ala kulli shay'in qadir. Allah says, to Allah belong that which is in the heavens and on earth. Whether you show what is in your minds or conceal it, Allah calleth you to account for it. He forgiveth whom He pleases and punisheth whom He pleases. For Allah has power over all things. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Qad Iqamati Salat. Sure. Okay. Sure.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Hayya ala salat, hayya ala falah. Qad qamat as-salat, qad qamat as-salat. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah.
Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladhina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alam tara kayfa fa'ala rabbuka bi ashabil fil. Alam yaj'al kaydahum fi tadlil. Wa arsala alayhim tayran ababil. Tarmihim bihijaratin min sijil. فَجْعَلَهُمْ كَعَصْفٍ مَّأْكُولٍ. Allahu Akbar. Sami Allahu liman hamidah. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladhina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Ameen. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Qul huwallahu ahad. Allahu samad. Lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. Allahu Akbar. Sami Allahu liman hamidah. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Allahu Akbar. Astaghfirullah. 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 Allahumma anta salam. Wa minka salam. Tabarakta yadha dhul jalali wal ikram. With the name of Allah, the most gracious, most compassionate. Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyu al-qayyum la ta'khudhuhu sinatun wa la nawm lahu ma fi samawati wa ma fil ard min dha alladhi yashfa'u indahu illa bi'idhnihi ya'lamu ma bayna aydihim wa ma khalfahum wa la yuhituna bi shay'in min ilmihi illa bima sha'a واسع كرسيه والسماوات والأرض ولا يؤده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم. الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين.
Assalamu alaikum. Please stay for these few announcements, very important announcements. And if you do have to leave, please leave something in the charity box and be quiet, so those who are listening to the announcements can get this information. First, we want to thank Imam Jeffrey Ali. He's an Imam at the Ali Khan Center over in Suitland, Maryland. Also, you hear how well he speaks the Arabiya, and he mentioned him and Imam Talib. Both of them were Arabic interpreters while they served in the military. So we want to congratulate the Youth Weekend program. Last Sunday they had their end of weekend program session, and they'll be starting up again. And so I hope that many of us, all of us possibly, can put our youth in the next round or session of the program when it starts back up after the summer. Also, if you want to sponsor an iftar, the cost is about $400, and know that you will receive blessings when you feed those believers that are fasting, and provide this food and service to them. And the Zakatul Fitr, which is obligatory at the end of Ramadan, is going to be $10 per person in your household, in your family. Also, next week is our big Ramadan session for the month of Ramadan. So we hope everybody here can support it. Tell your friends and others. We want to see a huge crowd listening to Imam Nasser Ahmed, who is one of the most prominent transcribers of the teachings, the tafsir commentary of Imam W.D. Muhammad. He will be the main presenter, and then we will have sessions by Dr. Zaid Abdul Kareem, Sister Namat Bilal, and Brother Jihad Abdul Salam. The weekend cost for the whole weekend is only $40, and for a single day it's $15. And you can get all that information online at thenationsmosque.org, and you can go downstairs as well and look at the flyers around the masjid. And vending is $50 for the whole weekend as well. Our Eid celebration, again, that's another obligatory thing at the end of the month of Ramadan. And we're asking for donations because we want to have a very excellent cultural expression of music and our own cultural expression. So we're asking for you to give at least $30 or $100 or more for those who can afford it. It says, let's make this an amazing and memorable Eid.
DC-1 fund. All government employees, Masjid Muhammad is now approved and listed to receive donations through your payroll deduction. So use code 9030 when setting up your charitable deductions. Keep in our prayers our sick and shut in, and also visit them if you can. Brother Manuel Salim, Sister Lillian Copeland, John Matt Yoon, Tanya Fairness, Imam Kashif, and I'm sure there's others. Every night there's iftar here at the masjid during Ramadan, as well as the Tawweer prayer. And tonight, the Muslim American Veterans Association is sponsoring the iftar. So if you like fish, bring your Ramadan appetite, and I'm sure you will get benefit from enjoying that with the community. The Boy Scouts and Cub Scouts will meet as they meet every Friday outside the masjid after Jumah. See Brother Mansa Musa. The weekly Arabic classes are continual. See Brother Rasul Salim. On Saturday, it's a virtual class from 10 a.m. to 11:30. And every morning, don't forget the Study Al-Islam program, where you can call in and get a 30-minute session at 4:30 a.m. every day during the month of Ramadan from one of our leading imams and scholars in our community. The New Africa Global Initiative, see Brother Saifuddin Majid. Every Wednesday they have a conference call from 7:30 to 8:30. And his phone number is listed as well. If any of y'all need any of this information that I'm not giving out, because I don't want to just say phone numbers and I know nobody's writing them down, and unless you got one of them minds that can remember numbers, most of us don't. But it's listed. The Key Bar, that's the nutrition site, the only halal nutrition site for seniors in the country. They're going on a bowling trip on Wednesday, June the 14th. The cost is $8 per person, and shoes are $5, a total of $13, and that'll be from 10 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. There's a job fair for veterans on June the 8th on 100 M Street. So anyone who's a veteran and need employment, you can attend this job fair, as well as another one at Nationals Park on June the 22nd. And this Sunday is very important. There's going to be the monthly men's meeting that Resident Imam Talib Sharif leads at 10 a.m. Men's means minds engaging nature, but it also, the acronym men's means only the men are invited. So sisters, you know, you got to get with Imam Talib to set up the sisters meeting. But this Sunday at 10 a.m., we expect all of us who say we brothers to be at this men's meeting at 10 a.m., inshallah. Only got one more announcement here, and that's a walk to win against prostate cancer. Masjid Muhammad is an official co-sponsor. It's a 5K walk. It'll be taking place next Saturday, June the 10th. And the walk is from Haynes Point. It starts at Haynes Point at 6:45 a.m. to 9 a.m. Registration is $15, $5 for children 12 and under. And it can be done online at www.walk2win.net. See Brother Ibrahim Mukmin if you have any questions. Brother Ibrahim, you want to stand? That's Brother Ibrahim. And last announcement, we're going to have our annual graduation program on Sunday, July the 2nd. So if any of us have family members or ourselves have graduated from universities, high school, elementary, homeschool, etc., we want you to be a part of this program so we can recognize and honor you. Forms will be available next week at the masjid and on the website. Thank you very much for listening. Ramadan Mubarak. Assalamu alaikum.